Balotelli, Aguero!
Hi everybody, welcome to MCFC 9320 Group TV. Got a cracker tonight. I've got an interview coming up with Spurs legend Micky Hazard on life, Spurs, City, his career, what is a legend. There's plenty coming up, but first let's see what you think about tomorrow's match. City versus Spurs, yeah, tough match. Our last defeat was 16 matches ago against Spurs. Will that be psychological in the City players' minds? Who knows? Will Spurs get a good leather in? Don't know. I can see Spurs coming to us and giving us a really, really good game, especially now Harry Kane is back in the starting lineup for them because he plays very, very well with Son. So let's not underestimate that. Let's keep our feet on the ground and see where it gets us. As promised, guys, is an interview with Spurs legend Micky Hazard. Tonight we've got Spurs legend Micky Hazard on with it. Absolutely delighted that you've managed to join us tonight, Micky. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, Andy.
Yeah, just want to talk about a few things really. You know, we'll get to the Spurs City game tomorrow, but just off camera, then we was talking about the government and stuff like that, and you know, you spoke absolutely a lot of sense, but. Just give us a brief thought, your thoughts on the COVID situation in the government. We'll get political before we get to football.
I think that somewhere down the line there's been a trick missed. You know, obviously it's a dire situation, something that's been thrown at the government that has never been thrown at any government because it's an unknown. But I think that whenever you're trying to defeat anything, it's very important that you piece together every little piece of information that you can get. It's a bit like doing a jigsaw puzzle. If you do a jigsaw puzzle, if there's one piece missing, you can never, ever complete the puzzle. And it's the same with COVID. And I genuinely feel that the mistake that they've made is that by announcing that you will be marked down as a COVID death if you've tested positive for coronavirus within a 28-day period. I think that's wrong. I think that we should be analysing why people died, what they died of, and then adding that to all the rest of the information that we got. Because at the minute we're gathering lots of information, or over the last year we have, but there's always a missing link because we don't truly know, because there's been no tests on the people that have died, exactly, and I mean exactly what they have died of, because it's no good saying, well, he tested positive 28 days ago, but he was hit by a bus today, which was the 28th day, which killed him. You know, so I think they're missing a trick in getting the jigsaw puzzle and piecing it all together and then devising the best method to conquer it, because that has to be the ultimate aim. The vaccine, it hopefully is going to be one of the routes out of this troublesome period, strange period, and we can all get back to watching football again.
I absolutely agree with you. And my mate Jeff, and I know he absolutely agrees with you. Right, so let's get to football. How did you end up at Spurs?
I ended up at Spurs. Wilf Dixon, who in 1975, 4-5, became assistant manager of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club under Terry Neal. Wilf was born and bred in Sunderland. So what he did was he decided to set up only a one-man band in Sunderland as a scout network, remembering that in those days you couldn't move within an hour of your club until you were 14, of your local club until you were 14. So he set up a little scouting network, and there was this scout called Ken Pedeston who came and watched me from the first time he saw me. He never missed one game, not one game, for about 3 years. And during that period, he befriended my dad. He came round to our house for dinner. We went round to his house for dinner. He used to take me around every Sunday for training, extra training, remembering that I'd played for the school on the Saturday, the club on the Sunday, sometimes the club on Sunday afternoon. I played 3 games on the weekend, and I'm like having to go around his house for extra training. I used to dread it. I used to be so tired. And I was a kid, and of course, by the age of 14, they sent me down to Spurs, and they sort of guaranteed me YTS. at that stage, obviously, I had lots of clubs interested in me. By the time I was 14, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Inter Milan, AC Milan, you name them, I had them all. No,
what about City? Did they ever?
City, Man United, Newcastle, obviously the local ones, Middlesbrough, Sunderland, Birmingham, lots of good clubs were chasing me. But obviously the fact that Ken had befriended my dad, became a good friend of the family. There was only one decision to be made when the decision had to be made, and that was to join Spurs. So that's how I ended up at Spurs.
So when you got to Spurs, I take it you got put up in digs and stuff like that, and they looked after you well.
Yeah, I mean, when I first came to Spurs as a schoolboy, my dad used to travel down with me. He used to put me into hotels and give my dad expenses and pay for hotels, food and travel, blah, blah, blah. And then at 16, when I came down full time as a YTS, they put me up in a wonderful family digs in just round the corner to the ground. Sometimes you can get unlucky, sometimes you can get lucky. I got in with a wonderful Irish family. They were really, really lovely. And I became, one of them was best man at my wedding. And one was, what do you call it when you have your son?
Godfather.
Godfather to my son, yeah. So that tells you how close I got to them. And I spent sort of six years living there with them. They were brilliant. She was an amazing cook, and they used to play cards, which was right up my street. So we used to gamble every night, sitting in the kitchen, playing an Irish game called 25s. Brilliant game.
Yeah, no.
Brilliant game. I became very.
How much has it changed? How much is it changed now? Like, I can tell just by speaking to him, that look on your face, that you wouldn't change it for anything. Where you get the modern day footballers now, they're all like robots. Everything's generic. But yeah, even when I've spoke, when I speak to ex-City players and stuff like that at supporters clubs or generally, the passion. Whoop, have I lost you?
No.
Oh, it just got me down.
Yeah. I'm just bringing it back.
Yeah. So.
Oh, what's happened?
There we go. We got you back. Yeah. The passion, you can just see it. It oozes out of like former players and that. And one thing I've said to my City mates and stuff like that, in 10, 15 years time now, you'll never get ex-players going around to say City supporters clubs like that. You couldn't see the Agueros, the Silvers, popping up at your local, backstreet pub and somewhere, or club where they have, the supporters clubs meeting. And it's the caliber of player like yourself, you're part of the fabric of the club. And I think that's what, us fans, that's what we adore. And that's why we consider, players like yourself for Spurs. I'm sure you consider, I know you considered a Spurs legend for what you did on and off the pitch. And we have that same affection with, ex-City players. Do you think it's important to keep close to the fans and the club?
You know what? When I played, look, there has to be a gulf, or some sort of gulf or gap is a better word, between fans and players, because fans need heroes. And if you're best mates with everyone, it's difficult for them to be a hero. So there has to be some form of a gap, right? But in my day, for instance, fans were welcome into training every day of the week. They could stand on the side of the training pitch watching us train. They could wait in the training ground till we come out of having a shower and have pictures, and we were very close as players and fans. Modern day football doesn't offer that facility. Consequently, the gap between the fans and the players is so vast that there's no what I call it's not like a family. In my day, it was like fans and players were grouped together and they were like one big happy family. And modern day players, for me, they miss out on this.
It's the bond.
Together,
yeah.
This bond. Bond's a great word. They miss out on this bond that is made with the fans, because the bond, it isn't just about when you're playing. It's also about when you retire and when you're 30, 35, 40 years down the line, and you get some fans when you're walking down the street. Hey, Micky, how's it going, mate? You remember that? That's the bond that is built up through closeness and togetherness. And in modern day football, there's sort of no real close interaction between fans and players alike. And the fans would obviously love that, and it would make even bigger heroes. I watch Harry Kane, and when I work at Spurs, so whenever I see Harry come in, I always watch Harry, and Harry would be. Some players would walk straight through into the main reception, straight through the dressing room. Harry wouldn't. He'd go straight across to the fans, sign 100 autographs, and then come in. Yeah. And that's what fans love. That's what fans want. That's why Harry Kane, when he does leave Spurs or does retire, he'll always be revered and regarded as an absolute Tottenham legend. Yeah. One, he came through the system, right the way through from schoolboy, right the way through juniors, youth team, reserve, first team. And you sort of look at it and you see it. He hasn't forgot where he's come from. Now, in defence of the modern day footballer, remember, a lot of them are foreign. So obviously when they retire, they will maybe go back to their own countries. So consequently, the supporters clubs won't see them in their ranks as such as they would see the likes of me.
Well, I suppose these supporters clubs for every club now, more or less across the globe,
throughout the world.
Yeah. It'd be the equivalent.
Yeah, no, it would be. I have to say that will there in 15 years time when the modern day player retires, will he be as accessible as what yesterday's players were, like Glenn Hoddle, Ozzy Ardiles, no doubt your great players of the past. I would presume that they're all incredibly accessible as ours are. And will today's be as accessible? No, I don't think so. Whether or not that's just they're a victim of the circumstances. Is it their fault that training grounds are closed off to fans? You got to remember these players are now valued at a lot of money. They're worth a lot of money. So £200,000 a week.
It's like you said about training and stuff. Like I remember going to Platt Lane, for the City players and stuff like that. And I think that's where the bond from there, because like you say, they're accessible and stuff like that. You see them in the street and stuff like that, and they stop and have a kick about whether you've got a ball and that kind of thing. I know young Phil Foden, who plays for us, he still does that, has kicks about,
Absolutely.
And even though he's worth millions now, players like him, they don't care about, if they get an injury. Well, I'm not saying they don't care, but they don't think about it because they're doing something with people, like the mates,
100%,
stuff like that. And they rarely
and the fans, footballers, not just footballers, but football people should never ever forget that without the fans, football's nothing.
And we're seeing that now, aren't we?
We're seeing that now, but one day the fans are going to come back. So all the sponsors, all the TV companies, they're all going to fund football for the time being. But you can rest assured, if that every fan walked away from football in totality, there'd be no sponsors, there'd be no nothing. So football would die. So the sadness for me is that I genuinely believe this from the bottom of my heart, is that modern day footballers miss out on the greatest thing of all about being a footballer. And that's interacting with your fans and seeing the way they idolize and worship you and are prepared to, what is it since I retired, 30, 20, 26, 27, 28 years, whatever it is.
Last year, wasn't it? He's still...
Yeah, last year, yeah. Snapped Achilles, yeah. 27, 28, whatever it was. And yet still, the fans revere me. They still ask me for my autograph. They still want pictures. They still want to be in and around me. They still want me to go to dinners, and they still want me to do this, and they still want me to take them on tours of the stadium.
I was going to say, you're still working at Spurs, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right. And they want me to play in their golf team and golf days. And that's what the magic of it is, because it's one big happy family in reality. And when you retire from football, you become back to being a fan. And a bit like, I can't believe I forgot his name, but the guy who's on TV now with Roy Keane and Graham Souness,
Micky Richards.
Micky Richards.
Yeah.
Sorry, apologies, Mick, for forgetting your name. I I knew your name. I just couldn't. I had a blank. But he's going to be. I bet the fans absolutely adore him.
Yeah,
because he stands up and he fights for his football club through thick or thin. And he'll sing their names in there's clips of him singing after the event.
Yes.
All gone quiet over there. The City fans will idolise it and worship, And he came through. He was a big City boy, and things like that. He's one of the fans.
Yeah,
he's representing the fans, and the more that happens, the more I love it. When I see it happening, and I think, oh, that is just amazing. Like when I see Harry Kane signing all the autographs, I think, wow, what a superstar to be. You're not a superstar because you're great at football. You're a superstar because of the things that you do with your stardom.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Harry Kane signing 100 autographs for kids who are drooling. It's Harry, it's Harry. They're ecstatic, and you make. And my motto in life is that kindness comes for free. And the more kind that you are as an individual, the more kind the people you're kind to are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they remember the great thing that you did for them, and they will in turn pass it on to someone else, which is how kindness should be portrayed and dealt with. People shouldn't say, "Oh, Micky, you're so kind. That is just wonderful what you did, Micky." No, it's not. Kindness should be the norm. Each and every one of us, if we were all kind to everyone, because we're all in it together, this is a short life, we all have to fight and work for the same things all at the same time together.
That's what I was saying to you earlier. For me, as a fan, that's what defines a legend on the pitch, off the pitch, and you might have somebody who does everything on the pitch. Like for me, some City fans won't like me saying it. For me, I don't consider Yaya Toure, a legend, because on the pitch he was fantastic, but some of the way he was slaughtering his club and his agent and stuff like that while he was with us, that turns it sour for me. We have people like you can see like Micky Hazards now and Paul Dickoff, all the old school, and they still ooze City. They're the legends. Some of them might not have been, absolutely fantastic on the pitch. They maybe not world beaters, but it's the passion what they've got for the club and the fans and the way they.
100%.
Yeah,
absolutely, 100%. Andy, agree with you. I look at legends of the past, and obviously the further back you go, the more accessible they were, because that was just sport. If you went back to 1920s, they probably all sat with the fans and drank together, and as I often did. But I think that from the modern day era of footballers, if there's a player that says, right, I'm going to do this to my, every time I see like Toby Alderweireld the other day, someone tweeted a message of someone who's got a brain tumor and he wants to sign Spurs shirt. Toby Alderweireld tweeted and said, "Could you get me his number?" And I thought, wow, the impact that one act of kindness, just one act of kindness,
and not just for that fan, everybody who sees that as well.
Everybody who sees it, but
I don't believe that would be a publicity stunt anyway, because like you say, something like that.
The only way is something can be publicity stunts, but some things you need publicity to raise the money. You can't raise money if you can't give it any publicity.
No, so absolutely right.
For instance, the act of kindness that Toby did will rub off on the guy he did it for and his family, and then the role reversal is that one day someone in a far less well-off position than they are, will request their help, and they will remember what Toby did for them, and they will then pass it on, and that's kindness. Kindness should always be passed on, because the more people that are kind, the more people that pass it on down the line. Go into a petrol station and the guy behind you just pay for his bill. I mean, I'm not saying that everyone can. What I'm saying is, I remember one time when I was in front of someone in a petrol station and I paid for his bill and walked out and didn't mention anything and got my car, and then as I got my car and drove off, he come running out to thank me. It's not something that anyone can do, but at that time I was a footballer and I did it because I'd watched that film. I don't know if you've seen the film Pay It Forward.
Yes.
unbelievable film, and the storyline is exactly what I'm talking about, and it inspired me to pay this guy's petrol. I could do with it now, mind.
That's just brilliant. So, Mick,
can I have it back, please?
Yeah. So on the pitch, what was it like to lift the FA Cup and the UEFA Cup?
Andy, as you know, when you're a young boy, each and every one of us, what do? We watch. The only live game in my era, anyway, was the FA Cup final, and there was a week build up to it, a week long of interviews, etc., etc. And all I ever wanted to do was play in the FA Cup final. And of course, very few fulfill their schoolboy dreams. I was one of the lucky ones, and even though the year before I was on the bench for the City game, I didn't play. So I longed. Part of just being the squad was a dream come true, but then I longed to play. So to get back there the following year and play a part in winning it again, I've got to say, meeting Princess Anne, she asked for my phone number as well. Yeah, I bet. No, I had an incredible day out. My family, you know, if I look back over it, and I remember standing in the tunnel, I knew where my family were, looking up, seeing them all waving to me, and I'm thinking, I look on it now and I think, God, my parents, you know, it's every parent's dream, as I dream for my children.
They must have been so proud.
You want the very, very, very best for your children. So here they were at Wembley Stadium, looking down on their son, the little boy, backstreet boy that they'd brought up, the pride that they must have been feeling when they were looking down at me must have been incredible. And that makes me proud. Forget playing at Wembley, that one moment makes me proud, and even more proud that they're no longer with me. You know, because of them, I am who I am.
So the way you're talking there, I'm just guessing that must have been more. You must have been more proud of the one at Wembley than the UEFA Cup.
More proud in the sense of what it meant to my parents,
that's
and
what
my family.
Yeah.
It was incredible. The UEFA Cup was slightly different because it was on a weeknight, so hardly any of my family could get down because they were at work next day, etc. But in terms of what would I choose to be the greatest football achievement, I would have to say the UEFA Cup, and more because of the emotions of the evening. One, we'd two-legged, we'd gone away, played brilliant away from home, ended up giving up a late goal equaliser against us. We should have been 3 or 4 up. Come back home, we've got no Glenn Hoddle, no Ozzy Ardiles, no Steve Perryman, our captain, no Ray Clements, and no Garth Crooks. We were really injured. We've got a really young team out.
What was it like? What was it like to play with all them players? Because I remember I used to watch Spurs and stuff like that, and they used to be that, you know, the swashbuckling attacking team, you know, free flowing football, you know, playing the beautiful game, and playing with Ozzy Ardiles and Glenn Hoddle and stuff like that. It must have been a dream.
Do you know what? When I made my debut at 19 in the Spurs team, I got told on the Friday, I'm sitting in the changing room getting changed, and I'm putting my shirt on, and I look to the left, and there's Ozzy Ardiles, and I look to the right, and there's Glenn Hoddle, and I thought, shit, what do they need me for? You know, I was 19. I actually got man of the match on the day. I wasn't. I just had a hand in a couple of the goals. We won 3-0 against Everton. I got man of the match. But how do you get man of the match with Glenn Hoddle and Ozzy Ardiles on the pitch as a 19-year-old? You just don't. So I got the sympathy vote, really, and maybe because my curly hair made me stand out.
I'd say the fans recognised what you was doing on the pitch. You know, even though you're from Sunderland, even though you come through the academy, you're still one of their own. And there's nothing better than a fan seeing, you know, one of your own comes through the ranks, like we're seeing with Foden at the moment and stuff like that.
That's right.
He's one of your own, so
I think you're spot on, Andy. It's a great point you make, because, you know, my advice to any kid that comes through the system at any football club, at any football club, not just Spurs. You know, you take Phil Foden. The Manchester City fans will want nothing better to produce an homegrown world-class footballer.
Yeah.
Because that means more. It means that you've not paid 30, 40, 50, 60 million to bring in an already made footballer. And what we have to remember here is that every superstar in the world was once upon a time an homegrown footballer. Because Lionel Messi is the best player in the world ever, I think. But he was a youngster at Barcelona. He came through the ranks. You know, so what it does is it proves that with the right guidance and the right methodology and the right structure, that you can produce. And Phil Foden is on his way to proving the point better than anyone for a while. That you can produce homegrown world-class footballers. And those homegrown world-class footballers, it's actually harder for them to become world-class. Strangely so. I don't know why that is.
To break through amongst all stars and stuff. You
exactly.
Must have,
exactly.
In fact, Phil Foden's probably the equivalent of you breaking through the Spurs team. You know, coming from all.
Well, it's probably greater, because probably a much greater achievement than mine, because in my day, there wasn't such big squads, and two, there wasn't so much at stake. What I mean by that is, of course, in the leagues nowadays, you get however many million for each place.
Yeah.
So as a manager, you're not going to throw a youngster in at the end of the season, because your chairman will say, well, hang on, if we win our last 3 games, we'll get 6 million, 8 million quid more. So we're not going to risk the youngsters whereas in my day, there was nothing at stake. So a manager could throw youngsters in at the end of the season to see if he was good enough or not, 3 or 4 games, when nothing was at stake. Obviously, you were out the cup, you couldn't win the league, so let's have a look at him. You know, so it probably is a greater achievement. But his performance the other night at Liverpool suggests that the future of this kid Foden is going to be immense. And at times, there's no comparison to Messi, and I'm not comparing him to Messi at all. But at times when he was on that right-hand side, cutting inside, he almost resembled, because he's left-footed, and he dropped his shoulder to go to the right and come to the left, something that I used to do as well.
Yeah, I remember it well.
It resembled things like Messi, you know, and as does Suarez and the other one, the Spanish kid, very good player, played right for when he's won the league. Villa, is it Villa? No, is it Villa? Come on, I'm not.
Who did he play for?
Man City. On the right.
David Silva.
Not David Silva, the other one. The other Silva.
Bernardo
Silva.
Yeah.
He does the same. He jinks in field. When he's on full flow, he's looking like Messi. You know. But for Phil Foden, the future's great, and it's great not because he's going to be a great footballer or is a great footballer, and he's got many years of improving, but because one day down the line, he is going to walk through Manchester, and he is going to be revered by, well, certainly half of Manchester. He's going to be absolutely revered.
There's only one team in Manchester, Micky.
Yeah, he's going to be revered as a local kid who cracked the big time.
Just like Jimmy Grimble, it's like Jimmy Grimble, you know, like, no, it's exactly the same. You know, it's one of, and as I say, that's like the equivalent of you in your day, because you know you're doing yourself a disservice there, because you know you broke into a team with some absolute phenomenal players.
Yeah, I did, but for me, the most important part about it all is, of course, having success on the field and playing well and doing this and doing that is lovely. It's magical, and it's something that you look back on with pride and everything. But I think the greatest success you achieve is 30 years down the line, when you walk down the street,
when you still remembered, and you're still in
the fans say, Micky,
I've got a bone to pick with you anyway.
Oh no.
1986 Full Members Cup.
Oh yeah, 5-4 Chelsea.
Yes. When you moved on to Chelsea. What a
Sadly.
game. I was there that day. What a game that was.
What unbelievable game. Absolutely unbelievable game. There's been some amazing, whatever they said about the full members cup, I think it always also became the Simod Cup, and we won it at the Simod Cup as well. I've got to tell you, I didn't keep the medals. But no, I mean, I got, one of my very good friends played for Manchester City, Neil McNabb.
Yep.
And I remember playing against them, and he was a lovely player, Neil,
Yeah.
And Billy McNeil was the manager.
That's right.
And my problem as a player was that when I was on my day, I honestly felt nobody could get the ball off of me. I just felt like that. And on this particular day, I felt no one could get the ball off me. And Neil was trying, and I just had one of those days. And afterwards, Billy McNeil, big boy Billy, wasn't he? He pulled me aside. He pulled me aside after the game. I thought he was going to hit me, right? Because I'd sort of been strutting around with a bit of arrogance. And he said to me, this, because he had a Scottish, listen, son, he said, you were brilliant today. He said, but let me tell you, you play with that arrogance, you're going to get yourself badly hurt. And I mean badly hurt. And I thought, oof, I'm not going to question you, Billy. Okay, Billy, big boy Billy. But he was the manager, and it was very nice of him to say what he said. But it was quite, it made me think, I didn't mean to be arrogant. I couldn't help it.
It's self-belief. It's not really arrogance.
That's right.
That's
exactly what it is.
It's how people, perceive that, so some of the great, I think you've got to have that to be a top player.
1,000,000%. But also that you've got to have to be tops. See, I had the talent to be tops. And while at times I reached tops in my performances, what I didn't have was when I was playing poorly and nothing was going right, I didn't have the same arrogance. And that's why I didn't get tops, because I look at the best players in the world, and it doesn't matter how well or bad they play, they've still got that strut. They still believe they're the best in the world. Whereas if I was having a bad game, I had a bad game. I never seemed to turn it and have a great game. And that's what stopped me being tops, because I had the talent to be, but my attitude was, okay, I'm having a bad game today. The next game I'll be brilliant, and rather than saying, right, I'm having a bad, let's go back to basics for 5-10 minutes, sort it out, and then do your difficult thing. Because I just wanted to do all the beautiful things. I wanted to beat players. I wanted to nutmeg people, flick it over people's heads, hit great passes.
That was the Spurs way, and
that was our way, yes.
And to be honest, Spurs have always been renowned for a top football, football, a proper football inside.
We have, yeah.
What do you reckon Spurs season so far? I know you have to be careful what you say, because you work at.
I don't need to be careful. I'll be as honest but as diplomatic as I can be, because I'm not. You probably know that I will never ever criticize individuals or criticize my club, because I wouldn't like it when I was playing. What I will say is, season so far is that we've got the promise of a really, really, really good side. Now, if you took the best of Tottenham Hotspur's attacking ability and then added it to the best of Jose Mourinho's defensive organisation and gelled the two together, then for me, you've got a team capable of winning the title. Because going forward on their day, they can be absolutely scintillating. Some games I've watched and thought, how do you stop this? And then other days we've got the balance sort of wrong in that we've sat too deep, too many men behind the ball. We haven't broken away, and we've defended and kept the goals down. The other night at Everton was a good attacking performance, but we got the balance sort of slightly wrong. So
it's either world beaters or panel beaters.
That's right. Yeah, for me, the job of Jose when he came in, and I said this on a podcast earlier in the season, was it's not to take away the great things that is synonymous with Tottenham Hotspur's history, and the style and the philosophies of play that we've always preached, the kind of flair, creative, talented players that and football that we've played. It's not to take that away, it's to add to that. Because, for instance, my team, I believe that my team that I played in was good enough to beat any team on any given day in the world, on any given day, right? Yeah. But could we do it over 42 games? That was the difference, was that we were capable of maybe doing it over 30 games, but 42 games, which sums up why we never won the league, and we should have on a couple of occasions. Okay, so what Jose's job for me was to do was to get the balance correct from that wonderful flowing free style attacking football that Spurs are renowned for, that creative, instinctive, off-the-cuff flair play that we're renowned for, and then add that solidity and defensive organization when they haven't got the ball, to make them, to transform them from where they're at into what they're capable of. Because this team is capable of winning trophies, right? But there's a balance that needs to be built into the wonderful free-flowing style that Tottenham teams have passed, have always preached and played, but also to add some defensive stability and organisation into it.
You've got, like you say, going forward, sometimes you can be sensational. And what impresses me is Son and Harry Kane partnership. It seems like Son only plays well when Kane's there.
Absolutely.
And Kane's not your traditional big target man. The work he puts in, some of the skill and that he's got, and you can tell he's playing with his heart on his sleeve, and
absolutely
not just somebody who's there, making the numbers up. Could you see Harry Kane leaving at some point if Spurs are not winning anything, or do you think?
Well, I think that Harry will not leave Tottenham Hotspur Football Club till he's beat Jimmy Greaves' goal scoring record. And he's only 50. He's only 58 off. 57 now, I think.
Yeah.
Well, he's 57 goals away from Jimmy's record. Right, I think that's an ambition of Harry's to go down in history as our greatest ever goal scorer. I certainly hope so. If I was to assess Harry Kane as an individual, for instance, one I would say I'm so impressed with him as a man, more than anything as a man. I think he's a man's man. He's a fan's man. And in 40, 50 years' time, people will still walk down the street saying, "Harry boy, how are you, man?" And regard him as a family friend. On the pitch, I think that we could play him right back, left back, centre mid, right mid, left mid, centre, and he'd be the best player on the pitch. If you analyse his game, he's our best goal scorer, he's our best finisher, he's our best tackler, he's our best header of the ball. He reads the game well, he understands the game well. He could play any position on the pitch and be a top player in any position. He's that good. He really is. Yeah. Will he leave? Not yet.
I think you're right, because I think the club means more to it. I think he'd only go if his hands force. You are going. We want the money. Or
absolutely. And of course, listen, nothing wrong with wanting to win trophies.
No, it's not.
But for everyone who's ever said, "I want to win trophies, so I'm going," well, hang on. You're partly responsible for the reason why we're not winning trophies.
Totally.
Because you've been in this team for 8 years now. So any player that leaves to win trophies, you must accept some of the blame for not winning trophies. So, for instance, this team has been in positions to win trophies and playing well enough to win trophies over the last 4 or 5 years. Champions League final, and another final, fourth. I think they've lost 4 semi-finals, second in the league. This team was more than capable of winning trophies, and like I said, instead of saying I want to leave to win trophies, say I'm going to stay and help this team win trophies, because if the Harry Kanes of this world continuously step up and say I'm leaving because I want to win trophies, then Spurs will never be in a position to win trophies, because every year they lose their best players.
Yeah.
But I think Harry won't go, and I think that this team is very close to winning trophies. And of course, there's adjustments have to be made in the way the team attacks and defends. And that has to be a balance between the two. You can't just sit back and defend, otherwise you'll get stuffed. Of course, you'll get the odd good result like we did against Man City, 2-0 at the new stadium, and Arsenal 2-0. but you'll also get your poor results as well. Whereas if you get the balance correct, then you'll win games. You'll win more games, and it'll put you in contention for winning the big trophies.
So this year ends in a 1. Spurs are in a cup final against us. What's going to happen?
Well, on present form, you would expect a Manchester City win. A lot can happen between now and then.
End of April, I believe. Yeah, it's end of April.
Yeah, end of April. A lot can happen between now and then. I sincerely hope that City are still in the Champions League. I think that City are still in the FA Cup. I think that City's in a really close fight to win the title, so need to play their best team every game to make sure that they win the title when this final comes around. So they've got to put out their reserves. Yeah. Manchester City are one of the best English teams I've ever seen. They are absolutely. They play the game the way that I want the game to be played, the way I hope that I played the game in a much more difficult era to play that way. I think they play such wonderful, fast-flowing football and the key to it all is their movement. City never play well when they're static. When they've got movement all over the pitch, they look just quite sensational, quite unstoppable.
What do you reckon of our season so far, Micky? Consider how slow we started.
Incredibly slow.
Yeah,
incredibly slow.
We didn't even have a pre-season.
No,
so.
But you looked so ordinary, and it shocked me because I didn't see the invention, the creativity, the movement, the passing that we've seen in the last few years gone by that have been unbelievable under Guardiola, and then it just clicked. And 15 wins on the spin is some achievement in this league. And you're not talking about playing, you've just been to the champions and won 4-1. So you're not beating nobodies, you're beating the very top. Unbelievable. I think the style that Guardiola preaches, I absolutely worship. I think it's the only style. It's the only way I want to see the game played. It's the only. There's very few teams that I, other than Spurs. Obviously, Spurs I watch every single game, but there's very few teams. If I'm out, I rush home to watch. But Manchester City is my number one. If Manchester City and like when Man United were dominating the football with Scholesy and people like that, Giggsy, I'd be there, not missing a game because I loved the way they played the game. And this Manchester City team took it to a new level. I don't think even that great Manchester United, who would win between the two, I don't know. But Manchester United didn't play the type of football that this Manchester City team plays. They play wonderful football. They've got wonderful players who all fit into this style and they all buy into what Guardiola preaches. And of course, it almost makes them at times look untouchable. And at times it feels like they're playing at sort of 60% and winning 5-0.
Yeah, that's like that. We've always been criticised, even under Guardiola, about they're always prone to leaking goals. And since Diaz has come in, and the way Stones has come back, like you were saying before about what you was expecting Jose Mourinho to do, you've got the flair up front. You just wanted him to make it solid at the back, and we seem to have that
absolutely
nicely now.
Well, I was praying that Spurs would sign Stones. I think he's a really, really, really good player, and he's perfect for the Manchester City way. And he would be a great addition to our team as well because he can play very good on the ball. Of course, in his younger days, and much less so now, he was making every mistake he made was punished with a goal. So it highlighted what people thought, and clouded their judgment. I thought he was a tremendous player, and I was praying that we would get him. We didn't, and unfortunately, he broke way back in alongside Diaz, and they look impregnable. I mean, I think it's 2 goals in 15 games, isn't it?
Yeah, and there was an interview recently with John Stones where he said two pre-seasons on the trot. Guardiola said, "Are you sure you don't want to move on? Are you sure you don't want to move on?" So he said it was sort of like reverse psychology, that show me what you've got, and it just seems that everything's clicked. And we're now seeing that the John Stones what we've always known. So
yeah.
So City's last defeat was 16 games ago, 2-0 at Spurs. Our match tomorrow, how can you see it going?
Well, I think there's a massive advantage for City on the basis that we had extra time the other night, very little time to recover. I'm not making an excuse here, and I don't have any sympathy for any player that, I remember in the 1984 UEFA Cup final, we had extra time. And then on the Saturday, a 3:00 kickoff, I was picked for the full England team. So I had to travel up to Hampden Park straight after the UEFA Cup final and try and recover before the Saturday. So no sympathy. That's, if you want to be a top footballer, that's how football is. But it does.
And they have more rotation now than you did.
And they had much more rotation nowadays. So, but at some point, you just have to. We'll have a bearing maybe in the last 10 minutes of the game. I'm not one to say, you'll be sluggish at the start. I always say that the fatigue will catch up with you towards the end of the game. What team Jose will put out, I don't know, but I think it's slightly edges in favour of Manchester City. I think we've got the ammunition to cause them problems.
Son always seems to score.
Son always does. Yeah. Harry Kane does. I look at it and I think there's ammunition there. How we utilise the ammunition will be the key. I think if we try to sit back and defend as we did at White Hart Lane and try and hit them on the break, I think that could be in for a long night, early evening. But I think that if we get the balance right of defending and attacking, then I think we've got the ammunition to cause lots of problems. So who do I think will win? Well, I'm not prepared to say, but that should tell you the answer. I think it's a
boring 0-0 draw.
Well, I hope not. And it's very difficult to see when you look at the quality on the pitch.
Yeah.
I'd take a 0-0 now if you offered me it, I must be honest. So but when you see the quality of striker, there's no way.
So it looks like there's no Bale again for Spurs. It's possible that we'll have Aguero on the bench, so I don't think Kevin De Bruyne is too far away. So for City's perspective, our season should, touch wood, only go from strength to strength, So are we all favourites to win the league, or are Liverpool still in the race, or United?
No. League for me, league's won. I think that there's a major chance, and I mean a major chance, of City winning all four. That's how good City are.
Yeah,
they could win all four.
Champions League now, and the defence at the back. Well, normally when we go into the Champions League and stuff like that, defensively we're just not good enough. So that gives pretty much every City fan, a hope that
there's not a team out there that pass the ball and move the ball like Manchester City. And as they get their best players like Aguero and Kevin De Bruyne fit, look what they're doing to teams now. Look what they did to Liverpool. Without some of your best players, people talk about, a couple of the Liverpool players being out, but they had all their best players on the pitch, bar the captain.
Yeah.
Where City were without some really top players, So City have got within their grasp to win all four this season. I really believe that they're a top team. And I think that for anybody, it's going to take a monumental effort for anybody to stop them. We've got a chance in the final, and on a one-off game,
anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
Especially because there's a one at the end of the year.
Yeah, that's the thing that could cost them. Is that in a one-off, anything can happen. So we've got a chance of beating them because we've got the ammunition to beat them. But I genuinely believe City have got a chance of winning all four. You've got great players everywhere. You look at you've got the right back that was rested in the week, a brilliant player.
Cancelo,
Cancelo has been playing left back. Then you've got Kyle Walker coming in to fill in for him. And you've got the Shevchenko or the left back with Cancelo could play. The guy they signed from France, what's his name?
Mendy, yeah.
You got top players in every single position.
And as an opposition manager, how can you plan to play City when even City fans don't know how we're going to play because they're like all the interchanging? Who do you pick up? It's incredible.
That's right. Well, you don't even know who's going to play because no matter who plays, they just all fit into the. And this is the beauty of the system that and the style that Guardiola preaches is that it's an easy system to just fit into. You know your role. Your role is the same wherever you are. So anybody who's not in first team comes into the first team for any given game, he automatically picks straight up on it, So it's very difficult to plan who's going to be playing, and it's very difficult to plan and stop their rotation. Their rotation's phenomenal. They just end up all over the pitch. But if you notice them, the minute they lose the ball, every one of them's in a great defensive position because they play such short passes all of the time that there's four. If they lose the ball in that area, they've got 4 or 5 men in that area because that's where they play their 1 touch, 2 touch.
It's like a fight. It lose the ball and Guardiola wants it back within 5 seconds.
Straight on. Yeah. That's right. And no doubt they must work on that on training. But the fact is that their style of play, their short passing game, that gives them the edge of winning the balls back very quickly because they're instantly on you. And not just 1, not just 2, 3, 4, 5. They're all on you because they're all in the vicinity. If you watch a team who plays the long ball game, when they lose it, difficult for them to win it back quickly because they've only got one player chasing the long ball. Yeah. So it can be passed through around them. But when you've got 4 and 5 in that vicinity, it's difficult to pass it through them. So you end up going long and it goes straight back and then it comes straight back at you. And that's why they always have 60, 70% possession because they get it back. If they don't win it straight back there, the ball gets punted long and they pick it up there. So it's twofold the way they do it.
Well, Micky, I've took enough of your time, but it's been an absolute, and I mean this, an absolute pleasure to
Pleasure's all mine.
And no doubt we'll know it about 8 o'clock tomorrow night. Who's
and don't start sending me text messages if you beat us.
Would I do that, Micky?
Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Andy,
much appreciated.
Anytime, thanks, Andy. Anytime for the future. If you need me, just call.
Take care, buddy. Bye-bye.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So there we go. What an absolute legend. Okay, he's a Spurs man, but he's also a football man. That's what it was like back in the day. And you know something? I absolutely really enjoyed interviewing Micky. I've known him for a number of years now, and he is an absolute diamond. Hope you enjoyed that. If you want to get involved in the show and stuff like that, you know what to do. Until next time, stay safe. Bye-bye.